We are recording this right after the LA Portland game. Some instant reactions from the Orlando versus Milwaukee, Houston versus OKC, and like I said, LA versus Portland. First off, with Milwaukee, first I lost a bet with them. It wasn't much. I bet them to be up at halftime by a point and a half. Turns out that was very, very wrong. Did you make any sports bets today, Levi?
I made one bet and one bet only today. I took the over in Austin P in Central Arkansas, and I missed that one by 5.5. I think I got it at 46.5. They ended up at 41, which is surprising because when I checked it at about the third quarter mark, it was 13-10 still. So I didn't think,
Yeah, college football is back, by the way. I
yeah,
didn't realize that until today. What
yeah,
what were the
college
schools
football.
again?
Austin P and Central Arkansas. They played in Montgomery at the Crampton Bowl
Hey, okay.
randomly. Yeah,
Good in state. I like it.
the hub of college sports.
Yeah, Montgomery, Alabama. Well, with Milwaukee and Orlando, I mean, this is what pretty much we all expected, right? Milwaukee, after that first game, there were a lot of overreactions. They're not going to win any championships. Orlando's going to take them to six. Orlando's going to take them to seven. But then everyone came back down to earth. Antetokounmpo showed us why he's going to be the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year, and they won 4 straight games. Were you as surprised as how Milwaukee kind of handled their business?
No, I wasn't surprised at the way, like, the only shock was Orlando stealing one game. But other than that, I mean, I expected it to be a sweep. I expected them to kind of take care of business and just kind of show that they are the best team in the East. I think they showed some cracks. They showed that they can be a little dependent on they kind of remind me of the Lakers in a sense, except they have better shooters. Whereas the Lakers' problem is they don't have the shooting. If Milwaukee is kind of cold with their guys like Bledsoe or Middleton outside, then it's going to be hard for Giannis just to kind of carry that. And again, they're in a much better position than the Lakers are with their shooting. It reminded me of that watching it today and seeing how well they were doing as opposed to when they aren't shooting very well, then they kind of feel like it's just Giannis in the paint where it's effective,
Yeah,
but
it is
it's
effective, but then it gets
effective.
pretty easy though. Well, not easy, but you look at what Toronto did last year in the playoffs, just stuffing the paint and letting Giannis do his thing. He's either gonna lose control of the ball, charge into you, or find the open guy. But if those, like you said, if those shots aren't falling, Milwaukee really isn't as big of a threat. And now they face a Heat team with players like, you know, Hero and Adebayo and Butler. And I think this series has the potential for the most likely to be an upset. We'll get to Houston and LA later, but Milwaukee versus Miami, that's a matchup that I'm looking forward to just because I think the Heat were the only team to have a winning record against Milwaukee in the regular season. Yeah, I know regular season versus postseason. It's two different seasons altogether. But how do you like the Heat versus the Bucks? Because, like I said, I could see this going to seven. I can even see an upset against the Bucks.
Yeah, I was not big on the Heat at all coming into the playoffs. I think that's just maybe like some bias for me, but I think I was kind of undervaluing them and how good the roster itself is. And I mean, I like their chances. I mean, you've got a guy like Jimmy Butler who is just an alpha dog who's coming at you. Like, he doesn't care who he's going against. He doesn't care that they're the underdog. He kind of always has that chip on his shoulder when he plays. And plus, they can shoot the ball really well. I mean, you have a guy, undrafted Duncan Robinson who can come in there and light it up. Tyler Hero can light it up. Like, you just have a lot of good players on this Miami Heat team. And the Bucks have seemed kind of vulnerable. So I wouldn't be surprised if they win, but I'm expecting a good long. I'm expecting a long series from this. Like, I'm expecting that to happen.
Yeah, I am too. And Orlando did show, like when they played against Milwaukee, they did, I guess, carve out some of Milwaukee's flaws, like we said earlier. And I mean, if Giannis doesn't get it done this year, Do you think that he maybe goes, and do you think that long-term contract is still in play after this year if they don't even make it past the semifinals?
I like to think he'd stay there because he said it so many times, but that
Yeah.
really doesn't. I mean, you have a right to change your opinion at any point in time, and if it's not working, it's not working. So he'll definitely consider it. I mean, I never thought LeBron was going to leave Cleveland. I never thought that Kawhi would actually end up out of San Antonio. It's just things like that it happens. I mean, there's a reason that the rich get richer in terms of your big market teams.
Mm-hmm.
The small market teams just don't. They usually don't supply their megastar with talent, which they have plenty of talent there. But I mean, if it's not working, it's not working. I mean, they've already changed coaches. They're trying everything they can to appease him and keep him happy. But not even making it to the finals, like just a semis exit would really, really that would hurt their long-term chances. I think it's more important for them to at least make it to the NBA Finals in terms of their ability to keep Giannis than anything at all.
And with Giannis, like, do you think that there's a possibility that Golden State thing is all true? And I want to get to a little bit of some trade possibilities down the road because I do think this Joel Embiid to Golden State is something that no one's really talking about. I kind of want to talk about it, but we'll save that for later. But I just think that if Giannis doesn't get it done this year, there's going to be a little bit of pressure. Like this team, like you said, is set up to succeed around them. You have shooters all around them. You have George Hill, Middleton. The one thing I will say about the Bucks that they really fucked up on was getting rid of Brogdon and him going to the Pacers. Like that just was the one shooting element that they're missing because he can be the potential to have like a 50, 40, 90 type of year. And to get rid of him is just it hurts them for sure. And he showed all throughout the regular season that he was a good player, but Milwaukee decided to sign Middleton. Now, moving on to Houston versus OKC. Look, we have Lukamania, but now there's Dortmania. The guy that's been, quote-unquote, locking up James Harden. Harden goes for 38, I think, just going for ridiculous numbers, and Dortmania is now coming to a close. What were your thoughts on the OKC Houston series so far?
I mean, someone has to lose that series, and whoever it is, you're going to laugh at them because you have two notorious playoff chokers with Chris Paul and James Harden. It's like that's what's kept me engaged in this is because one of them has to lose regardless, and you get to laugh at them either way. Honestly, I expected Houston to run away with this, and I know that the Thunder have been a lot better, and they have a lot of good talent. Like I'm a big, Gilgeous-Alexander believer, and had him on my fantasy this year, so I paid a little bit more attention to him than I probably would have.
Did he help you or hurt you in that?
Oh, he was amazing. He was amazing. 19-0 in a shortened season. One draw the week that everything got canceled, and they gave me a draw because everybody had 0. But no, he was just he's just a good player. I mean, the Clippers getting rid of him for Paul George seemed like a lot. Like in essence, it wasn't just for Paul George because they would have got Kawhi without Paul George.
Yeah, they also include 7 draft picks in that trade. So they gave away their whole franchise. But yeah, Shea's been killing it this year. Like, I don't know what OKC is going to do after this series. Like, I don't know if they're going to be able to hold on to Gallinari, and I know they're going to keep Chris Paul, but like with Gallinari and Steven Adams with the contracts that they have, you start just investing for the long term and start using those draft picks and get rid of all those players. I think it's going to be a long offseason for OKC, but really, really one of my favorite teams to watch this year, just because everyone counted them out. I think ESPN, it was like they had a 0.3 chance of making the playoffs. Chris Paul said, "Nah, I'm coming to the playoffs." And sometimes he may act like a little, on the court, but man, I respect his game so much, and he's one of my favorite players to watch. And I think now with the addition of Russell Westbrook now with Houston, I think this series is pretty much over. I could be proven wrong, and this game or the series could go to 7, but Russell Westbrook, man, he's a dog. And now he was a little rusty coming back. I think only finished with 7 points. But what do you think now? Does Houston somewhat have a chance at the championship if a healthy Russell Westbrook comes back, or is it? What do you think about that?
I mean, I always try not to buy into them. I always try not to buy into the Rockets because they always look so good in their regular season, and I love their thought process. They have the advanced metrics and analytics where if we shoot more of the shot that's worth more, like if we shoot more threes, which is worth more than a two, odds are we should have more points at the end of the game. And I like how they think and how that works. I think they have a legitimate shot just because if they're playing the Lakers, then the Lakers might not can keep up. They might not can shoot enough.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a weird series. Like you have the Twin Towers and JaVale and Anthony Davis versus PJ Tucker, who's all of 6'9", but he's a ball of 6'9".
Yeah.
He's all of 6'9". He fills all that space up. But, like, do you put PJ on JaVale? Do you put PJ on AD? I don't
know who's going to guard AD in that series. That's like
maybe a Robert Covington. Like I don't really know.
I think you have to put Robert Covington on him. I don't think there's a player on the Rockets roster that you are going to. There's not anybody you're going to feel comfortable. I mean, many teams have that. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Like,
I mean, if you're 6'9" and under, you're gonna be automatically starting for that team. Like, I don't think they have a player on their roster that's above 6'9". But hey, maybe it works. Maybe it works out for them. I like I said, it's gonna be a weird series. Very big contrast of styles. You're gonna have those games where Harden goes for like 45, and like, okay, well, I'll just give it to him. And I say probably that series goes about 6. It could go 7. I could be wrong, but Houston's championship odds obviously go up after Russell Westbrook comes back. I love Houston. I'm starting to appreciate James Harden more. So I used to be one of those keyboard warriors hating on him. You know, I didn't really. I guess
that's still me. I still give him too much slack. So
what's it with you? Like, why don't you like him as much?
The it's not flopping. It's just the way that, like, he's so smart, and that's not me taking away from him at all. It's just the way that he plays sometimes, where I feel like he gets away with a lot of travels. And I feel like he goes to the line a lot more than he should. But again, that's just smart basketball. I mean, he's taking advantage of a system, and me saying that I get mad about it isn't me saying that like there's any disrespect to what he does, because I think he's a phenomenal basketball player. Obviously, he's one of the most talented people, like one of the most talented athletes in general, like not just in his sport. Just what he can do with a basketball in his hands is crazy. But yes, he leaves something to be desired on defense, which is always going to be his thing. But
he's gotten a little bit better. He's
gotten a lot better.
Like he's a strong dude to back down.
Yeah, I mean, he's put a lot of muscle. I mean, he looks probably in the best shape he's ever been in. Yeah. Like which is crazy. We come out of, we're still in a pandemic, but you come out of this massive quarantine and go into the bubble, and he looks probably better than he has.
And, well, you would hope so. All these NBA athletes getting paid millions of dollars to keep up in shape with their body. It's not that hard. But
I mean, yeah, true.
I mean, you don't like the tween cross, like infinite dribbles game? You don't like that at all, the step back?
Yeah, I'm not a big one-on-one. Like, I'm not just a big one-on-one guy. And, like, don't get me wrong, I still love watching it. It's still fantastic when you see him, cross someone up, hit a step back 3. Like, that's still incredible.
Yeah.
But I do miss the days of just seeing a lot of good passing. Maybe I'm just an old man at this point, but I do I appreciate it. It's just sometimes I want to see a little bit more, but he's incredible. He's fun to watch. And I mean, I can't knock any of his game. He's fantastic.
See, like, I don't know. I'm a little bit opposite. Like, I do like ball movement, but I'm more of like the, that time period of like 2003, 2009. It was that 1v1 kind of area. You had Gilbert Arenas. You had D Wade. And speaking of D Wade, Donovan Mitchell right now is doing things that we haven't seen since Elgin Baylor, since Michael Jordan. He's averaging, I think, 37 points right now, which is, I think, sixth or fifth all time in points per game in a single season for playoffs. And I'm getting him for my fantasy team tomorrow. I hope he gives me the points because I really need it. But Donovan Mitchell right now is getting some love, but he's not getting enough love. What he's doing is being overshadowed by, I think, what Luka's doing. But Donovan Mitchell's only been in the year for a year longer. I mean, why do you think that, I guess, he's not giving enough national media attention instead of a Luka? Is it because of Luka being just that good?
I think it's because he played for the Jazz.
Oh, yeah.
I think they hate the Jazz. I mean, no, like I have my Donovan Mitchell shirt in there. Like I'm a big Donovan Mitchell fan. I love Spida. Like I think he is just incredible. And I think part of it is it's the foreign aspect for Luka, because we have a preconceived notion, and many NBA fans have this notion that European players come over here and flop, or they're soft, or this and that. And we've seen a lot more foreign players come in and dominate here recently. And I think that kind of really builds into it. And I don't know. Also, I mean, he's doing it against Kawhi, who a lot of people don't like Kawhi. A lot of people hate Paul George. Like, so they.
I don't know how you hate Kawhi. Like, he's done nothing wrong but laugh.
I mean, a lot of people don't like him. That's like a lot of people don't like him because I think they think he's boring. So like they're not. Maybe it's not that they don't like him. They're just not a fan of him. And then with the Mavericks history, everybody loved Dirk. Like when you thought Mavericks, you thought Dirk, who was a German, a European player who came over and dominated. And Luka kind of comes right in, fills that role instantly. So, and plus, I mean, both players have been ridiculous. I think, if anything, it's probably more the fact that Donovan Mitchell plays for the Jazz, and they're also playing the Nuggets, and they're both really good teams, but they're also like the Nuggets. Their star is their star is Jokic, but they remind me more of how the Pistons were in 03, whatever year they won early on, where they didn't have a true superstar, but they just had such a good roster.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is fans don't buy into that as much. So I think it might just be a combination. Maybe it's just getting overshadowed. Like maybe they're just not interested in the matchup, and
I mean, it seems like Utah every year in the first round gets either dismantled by Houston or OKC. Actually, it's the opposite. Utah usually beats OKC, but
yeah.
anyways. But yeah, I agree with that probably. Like the foreign aspect probably makes him a little bit more popular. But back to Denver, you don't think Jokic is a superstar yet?
No, I think he is, but he's also a big center. And I think that there's a thing that in terms of superstars that people are drawn to. And the fact that for the most part, when you think of Jokic, you think of like a big fat white dude. People are you don't you have a little bit less likability, I guess, when you think about someone like that. Dude's game is ridiculous. I mean, he's one of the best players we have. But I can understand from maybe like a casual fan perspective how you'd rather want to watch James Harden or Luka with what they do than watch Jokic and Bol and all those big dudes. They have so many good players. It's just Denver hasn't gotten a lot of national slots this year for the most part. I mean, a lot of people aren't geared in to watch a Pacific Northwest game unless it's the Lakers or the Clippers.
Yeah.
And the Warriors, in years past, not this year. But they're not really geared in to watch those. So I understand. I think it's just one of those things where people are truly sleeping on them and not caring as much just because of where they are. Pacific Northwest, smaller market teams, I don't really care about them as much, which sucks, but
yeah,
that's the world we live in.
And I feel like with Jokic, I think the debate between him and Joel is kind of over with, of like who's better. Like I think Jokic has now established himself as the best center in the NBA. Embiid, with how things went with the Sixers in the postseason, it went. I don't think it could have gone any worse for the Sixers in this postseason. But if there is a silver lining with all of this, is that you get a new head coach. Because Brett Brown, he was getting, I mean, the coaching matchup between him and Brad Stevens in the postseason just wasn't fair. It was like one kid was, a top scholar at, say, Harvard, and the other was still in middle school.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense. Do you think that Philly trades one of the two, or do you think that they're still going to continue with the process?
I think they might, and I think the fact that the Warriors got the number 2 pick, I think that makes it more likable in a weird way, because now the Warriors have a really hot trade commodity with that number 2 overall pick for a team that's already good. So like they could give that pick and maybe like a few other picks, maybe some trade date. Like they might could just ship Andrew Wiggins out and bring in a guy like Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons. I probably think Embiid before Simmons if they were going that route. He just fits more into what they do. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I think if the right team comes calling with the right price, because I mean, you have these 2 players who are immensely talented, but it's not working right now, and you've got to do something to change that.
Yeah, and I think by this point, you keep Simmons. Like I think Simmons has more of that superstar potential than Joel does. I used to be all over the Joel hype train because I thought if he was able to take over a game, it was going to be 35 and 20, 35 and 15 every night, but it's just not there, that consistency. And I've thrown this out already. I think that Golden State is going to make a hard push for Joel because they need that big man. And Joel can still space the floor, so you still have that space with Curry and Thompson. But you have the second pick. You ship that off. You give him, say, Wiggins, because who cares about Wiggins? No offense. But Wiggins.
He's just extra trade fodder at this point.
Yeah. Him, Draymond, and then maybe a future pick for, like, say, Joel and then Josh Richardson or something like that. But I don't really know the cap space in my head. Like, I'm just throwing shit out there. But
yeah, I mean,
also,
you could ship off. I don't know about much of the cap space, but I mean, you could probably ship off a guy. Again, I also don't know who's coming up as a free agent out of the smaller guys. I mean, you could ship out a guy like Marcus Chris, who was a former first rounder, Draymond Green, and that number 2 pick. Like some of those guys, like Andrew Wiggins, like they're getting really good talent, and then getting an immense talent in return that fits what they do. Like you said, spreads the floor. So again, I don't know, like you, I haven't looked into all of the cap space stuff that would work into, but just looking at their roster, I mean, they have players they could get rid of in theory, plus like maybe a first and second round pick, and that would be crazy. Just reload.
This draft class sucks ass. Like it's just so bad. It's bottom feeder. It really is. Like after pick 3, I feel kind of bad for all the people trying to analyze this draft class and just trying to find something like a little nugget out of everybody, because you have like a bunch of these international players coming out, and I think that's where the game's going. I really think it's just international players. You see players like Luka now, and if a guy is, hey guys, you know what? If a guy's 15 years old and is playing professionally in their country, he's probably pretty good, and you're probably going to take a chance with him. I don't think any GM is going to make that same mistake again. Rip the Atlanta Hawks. But hey, Trae Young was a good consolation pick.
Oh yeah, he's a great pick too. I mean, so
you just missed out on a 2-time MVP probably, and a probably 3-time champion. But
the draft class is it's not great.
Are you looking at it right now?
I'm like looking at some of them. I mean, it's not great. I mean, you have some talent. I mean, Anthony Edwards obviously is a good player. Like, I think it's the top 3 are pretty safe picks. Yeah. There's not a safe pick, but I mean, Edwards, Ball, and Wiseman are all like they have the makings of what you want as a pro. And then from there on out, you're taking risks on guys like, someone we know a little bit better, and Isaac Okoro, who's if he develops a more outside shot, will be, a consistent all-star player.
I
He
heard
can defend at the elite level.
I heard number one pick talk with him. I don't get it. Like it excites me as an Auburn fan, but it's also a huge potential to be a huge bust.
I'd rather him just go a little ways down. I'd rather him go to a better team where he can develop than
Yeah.
throwing him. Which I mean, the Timberwolves aren't a terrible team. They just can't seem to put it together for whatever reason. But yeah, with like Okoro, I mean, like all the players on here outside of the top three, most of them have some sort of glaring weakness, or not weakness, but something that they could really improve on. Like we said with Okoro, his three is lacking. His drive, incredible. His perimeter defense was elite at the college level. And honestly, I mean, if you're picking him, 5 down and you're getting an elite defender at, a guard, small forward position, I mean, I think that's a slam dunk pick. But when you're picking him at the top of the draft and maybe you pick him over someone coming in who ends up doing a little bit better. So,
And we saw what he did, like versus Edwards at Auburn. I mean, he I wouldn't say he locked him up, but it was pretty good defense. And when you see the two, it was like with Lonzo Ball and De'Aaron Fox in the NCAA tournament. I'm not going to say that it was that sort of matchup because I think after that game, people realized De'Aaron was not miles better, but was like half a mile better.
yeah.
Like Isaac Okoro and Anthony Edwards, I wouldn't say are that far behind each other. But offensively, Edwards is probably the most skilled in this draft class. But I'm very, very high on LaMelo Ball. Everyone's calling me crazy, but I thought before the whole lottery pick system or the lottery show, I thought he was going to go number one. But now that Minnesota's number one, I think team need, team fit, Anthony Edwards makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Or I've been hearing actually they go like the Twin Towers mode and go like Wiseman and Cat. But I don't know if Wiseman has a jump shot to spread the floor that well, but
if he can develop that, then that would be crazy.
Like, yeah, I mean, we've seen right now what's going on between Ayton and Booker in Phoenix's little future, which looks a little bright, but
he looks so good.
Yeah,
for the two of them, because I mean, people forgot that Ayton missed a lot of games this year. So
well, yeah, I mean, he was on PEDs.
Yeah, I was like, people forgot he was suspended. So when they were actually playing side by side, people were like, "Oh, this seems a lot better than I remember." It's like, no, they just have they have the number one pick.
They just had the number one pick that was also on PEDs. So yeah, yes. It's going to be pretty good. Yeah. But back to the game reactions. Got a little off topic right there.
We just started thinking about we strayed away from the Sixers because we started talking about draft.
No, enough about the Sixers talk. That was enough. LA versus Portland. 5 games. Finally, all the people that said Portland in 5, Portland in 6. I'm calling out my friend Tyler who texted me Portland in 5. My heart says 5, but my brain says 6 or whatever he said to me. And I'm just – people who thought the Blazers would win, I'm sorry, but y'all are just a bunch of lunatics. Like Charles Barkley, I love him, but saying that after game 1 that Portland was going to sweep them, that was just an attention grabber, I think. But you honestly couldn't believe, at least for me, that Portland would beat the Lakers. If anything, they woke the Lakers up. And tonight, I think, even though it was a close game, the Lakers probably underestimated the team just because they didn't have Damian Lillard. And I think it was like with the Bucks. Like in game 1, they probably underestimated the Bucks, or they underestimated the Magic, and that's why they lost. And then you see them win 4 straight games. Same thing with the Lakers. And now, I mean, they're on a roll. KCP still missing wide open layups. Gotta love it. This game also featured Hassan Whiteside getting boxed out by Danny Green. Gotta love that. Hassan Whiteside is proving why he needs to be on a championship contending roster. And one other thing that I took from this game is Anthony Davis's ball handling skills as a big man legit terrifies me. And in a good way. Like him versus Nurkic on the wing, and he's just going tween cross, and then does a little step back mid range jumper, and it's a swish every time, is a thing of beauty. And I don't know. Like, good luck to PJ Tucker in the next round. Good luck to Robert Covington, and then whoever guards him beyond if the Lakers win that. I don't know how you can stop AD in these playoffs.
No, like at all. Like the way like, he's just such a hard matchup. And I mean, it sounds like I know that's like sounds like the most simple analysis you've ever heard, but I mean, a guy with that size should be able to handle it the way he does and shoot the ball the way he does. Because I mean, like he's not an exceptional 3-point shooter, but I mean, you know what, like 4 for 6 tonight. I saw a thing earlier. I think it was Anthony Davis made more threes tonight or in game 5 than Shaq made in his entire career, which is crazy.
That's not surprising. I mean, I've seen one highlight of Shaq making a three.
So it's like not too far off, but yeah, I mean, he's amazing. Him and LeBron are just way too good. But someone's got to shoot the three. So I'm glad to see AD shooting it, but someone on this team, like my boy Quinn Cook, has let me down. Like
They're not even playing him by this point. It kind of makes me mad because like he won 2 titles with Golden State, right? Was it 2 or 3?
2, I think.
Yeah, and he played minutes in the finals. I don't understand why they don't bring. But
I mean, I don't know. I want to see Dion Waiters. I want to see J.R. Smith. I want to see Quinn Cook. I want to see them all in at all times shooting the ball.
Did you see J.R. Smith catch a ball out of bounds and proceed to shoot 3 thinking he was still in bounds?
That's J.R. Smith. That's him. Look, he's locked in at all times to shoot. if you saw that man walking down the street and doing basketball, he would put it up. There might be a hoop around, but he's immediately going shot. Or he's probably going to fade away like 4 foot out of bounds
too.
Yeah, I wish there was someone had the stats of how many contested threes J.R. Smith has made in his career versus wide open ones, or at least like his.
Said he prefers people in his face.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like it would be crazy. Like he would have a higher percentage with people in his face than wide open shots, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I want someone to go do that for me.
Yeah, ESPN stats and info. They probably got something over there. But
I'm sure. Danny Green has been the biggest disappointment. 1 of 6.
Man, he's 1 of 6.
1 of 6 tonight. I'm looking at it right now. From the 3-point line, he was 2 of 8 overall.
God, Danny Green.
It's not fair to call him a disappointment because he does play really good perimeter defense on the other end. But when you're on this roster,
and you're getting outscored by KCP,
like like you need that's what you're here for. Like Avery Bradley's not here. He's not in the bubble. You need someone to fill that role. That's where you come in. How many finals has Danny Green played in? Like 4 or 5?
He played with the Spurs. Then, oh God, where did he go for the Spurs? Was it immediately to Toronto from the Spurs?
I think so.
Okay, so he's played in 2 or 3 probably. 2 with the Spurs, 1 with Toronto.
So he's won 2. I don't know how many he's played in. It doesn't tell me how many he's played in them.
Okay, so he probably
He's probably played in like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.
Well, I remember him playing.
Oh, here we go.
Tell
me. Maybe. No.
What was it? 2014, 2013. I think it was the year that the Spurs blew the Heat out of the water. And I think he set the record for most threes in the finals. So
he teams up with LeBron and
well,
can't hit a 3. He was always a thorn in LeBron's side in those Heat Spurs series, I felt like.
Yeah.
And the second he comes in to play with him.
And 1 of 6, man. Like the amount of times I saw that man wide open in the corner. I feel like the guy has some sort of badge, like in 2K, like he's got to have at least a gold in the corner specialist, right? Like he's got to have at least probably a Hall of Fame badge in the corner, but he's missing wide open threes. It just doesn't make sense. Like that's what you're brought there to do. And with all the finals experience that he has and the way that, I mean, KCP has been playing, do you trust KCP more in a finals game than Danny Green?
I don't think you can.
Not yet.
I don't think so.
Okay. Too far. Too
Let's
far.
see. So I have like a negative opinion of KCP simply for the fact
Go ahead.
it's the same way, like, and it has nothing to do with his basketball ability. I know this is awful. It's the same reason I have a bad hatred towards Lou Williams. Not hatred, but like disdain. It's because I can't play with them on 2K. I can't play with them on 2K.
Sorry.
So I automatically think they're bad because their 3 will be like an A+, and I'll go to shoot with them on 2K, and I can't make a shot with them. So I automatically think KCP and Lou Williams are bad because I can't shoot with them on 2K, which is unfair to either of them. But yeah.
Great analysis right there. I love Lou Williams. I love his game. Him and CJ McCollum kind of
I love CJ McCollum.
Remind me of the same player. Like they play differently. Like CJ is just a smooth criminal. Like the way he just glides through pick and rolls and that footer he has is a thing of beauty. And that I don't know what I don't know what game it was, but like he had this little step back move. His footwork was just perfect. And I can't explain the move, but CJ is one of my all-time favorite players. But back to Lou Will, with tomorrow night or tomorrow Monday is the game. Him, Paul George, and Kawhi, I think are good or due for a good outing. Like now you have Porzingis out. This series is most likely over. Luka again can prove me wrong because he's all these comparisons that Luka's been getting. You know, Larry Bird mostly, and for me, it is because he's white. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, can we have some elite, like some creativity? Like, for me, this is gonna be a little bit of a stretch. I think he's more LeBron than anything. I never saw Bird play. I've only seen the highlights, but the way he sees the game, the way his vision is, the way he was making these passes. I don't know if you saw. It was game 4. Luka had a pass. He was driving to the rim, and then he passes at the last second to the corner.
Yeah.
And Van Gundy said that pass was legendary. Like you don't see that at all unless it's LeBron, a Magic, some of the best passers of all time. That more than anything, his mental game is more LeBron than anything. We could talk about his, what his dribbling, his shooting. His shooting needs to improve. If he can improve his shooting, he's gonna be a top 10 player of all time.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of crazy to see a player our age do that. Like when we were growing up, we were already used to LeBron and Kobe being good, but when we started remembering things. But now we've seen Luka since day one as a baby, and now it's gonna see him grow up. I don't know how you can't put this guy as an all-time great in the future.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be like a very, very high like player in NBA history if he continues on the trajectory, that he's on. My thing with him, like you said, he's got to work on shooting. But his ball handling is good, his drive is good, his passing is probably my favorite part of his game. Like how you're saying, the no look pass or the last second pass. Just things like that I think that separates a lot of players because, I mean, I don't know. That, like, a lot of players don't see the court the way. It's easy for fans to look back and think, how did you not make that pass? When you have, the eagle eye, like, vantage point where you can see everything. And, you're down there with guys who are average like 6'6" height, pretty much. Like on average, 6'6", 6'7". It's hard to see some of those passing lanes, and some of them are narrow. And you see guys like LeBron, guys like Magic who could make those passes. throughout NBA's history. And Lucas seems to, like you were saying, like he just has that vision that like, it's almost like he sees it before it happens. And that's a very rare skill. And that's a skill that really can't be taught. I mean, it can be, but it comes more
You're
natural.
born with that. Yeah. Lucas was bred by the basketball gods. Sorry, my eye is itching like crazy right now. Whew. Yeah, he was born sculpted by the Greek gods or the Sylvanian gods. That's where he's from, right? Sylvania.
I think.
I don't want to get that wrong. I
I
don't.
legit don't even. I would have guessed.
What is this salty discharge coming out of my eye?
Let me see. I can figure this out. He is from Slovenia. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Slovenian gods sculpted him just perfect. The one thing you said is passing is the most impressive thing to you. The way he bullies Kawhi off of him and just gets in front of him so easily on the pick and roll, like to position his body in front of Kawhi to make sure that the defender is behind him and then attacks the basket. And then like for a 21-year-old to be that strong to against the best defender in the NBA, it's like we're seeing Patrick Mahomes in the NBA, but better. It's like if Patrick Mahomes could read defenses. Like he even admitted himself that he hasn't read defenses, or that he hasn't until this past year.
Yeah,
and it's weird. We have two superstars in two different sports right now that are going to be crowned all-time greats, and we're seeing it live. I just hope people appreciate it. But
yeah, I appreciate it. It made my Sunday a lot more fun.
yeah, well, I mean, you were working today. Do y'all have the TV on?
So we usually have a TV on in the kitchen, but so we're starting to do like a lunch thing. So we've done a lot of remodeling in the kitchen. So the TV is not there at the moment. Which, to be fair, I would have had a chance to look at it tonight. I had to on my way home. Like I listened to highlights and like post game wrap ups just to catch the stuff that I miss. I check stuff frequently throughout when I do have to work. But yeah, I think last Sunday we were off, and me and my brother and his wife ended up watching the game out at a restaurant, and there was definitely a jovial me and my brother both cheering audibly because like I don't think anybody else was watching it.
Yeah, I mean, was it like a Buffalo Wild Wings, or like y'all were just like chilling at?
Well, we were sitting at a pub, like the pub by my work, and so we were sitting at the bar there, nice and distant apart from everybody, doing our thing, and
drinking with masks on, right?
Yes, drinking with the mask on.
Yes,
yeah, just pulling the mask down. But yeah, me and my brother were probably the only two people in there watching it, and when that happened, like we both just were, and I screamed, and I was just excited.
Yeah,
which is rare for me if it's not a team that I am a fan of or have money involved in. So for me to get excited about something like that, it's usually a really good moment because if I don't have money involved or it's not, one of my teams, I have to be emotionally invested or financially invested, I guess.
With that betting, like, do you what are your rules on what you don't bet on? Like, because I know there are some things where I'm like, okay, my heart is too invested into this game, so I'm not going to invest actual money into that game. You know what I mean?
That's always a good rule. In terms of, for anybody out there listening who wants to know anything about sports gambling, which is now becoming legal throughout the states for the most part.
Yeah.
Don't bet with your heart. I'm actually more inclined to bet against teams I like because I think I know too much about them sometimes. Like the Saints, anytime someone asks me about the Saints and, oh, do you think they're going to cover the spread this weekend? I tell them no because I never think they are. I think they're going to lose every game. Same with Auburn. I think Auburn's going to lose every game every time they step.
Well, I mean, that's realistic because with Gus Malzahn, we always have a chance to lose.
and we always have a chance to win. We always have a chance. We have a chance to lose the game. We're always going to lose the games like Tennessee at home, and then we'll win some random game like
Yeah,
Texas
we'll
A&M on the
lose
road.
to Alcorn State, but then beat Bama off of 2 blocked field goals.
RIP Alcorn State. You're gone but never forgotten from that schedule. But yeah, I mean, in terms of that, just like I don't bet my heart. If you're ever thinking about gambling, I always say whenever you place a bet, always think that you've lost that money. So let's just say you're betting even something as small as $5. Just go ahead and say like I've lost that $5. That way, when you do lose, you don't get upset because there are times where you have bad beats and they are really, really awful. I can't even remember the last time I had an awful one because it's been so incredibly long. But I mean, there's been times where I've been on the winning side. There was like a Chiefs Redskins game, I think a few years ago. I'm sorry, Chiefs Washington football team game from a few years ago, and they were running just like a lateral play to try to score at the last second, and the Chiefs scooped it up and scored it. Had no reason to. Ended up covering a 9-point spread, or an 8-point spread by doing that. And I was on the right side of that, but things like that.
If you're on the other side of that,
they're gut wrenching. They're gut wrenching. I've had some. I just can't think of any because I try to. Or having Baylor money line last year against Oklahoma, and you're sitting pretty.
No.
You're sitting pretty. Just you're kicked. That was on my birthday. I was kicked back in my recliner, just enjoying life. And then the next thing I know, I'm out. Yeah, I was upset. But I mean, things like that. I don't know. I try to only bet on sports I know. Sometimes I'll get a wild hair. And, like, I love Korean baseball. I mean, God, the NC Dinos were just, whew. Well, you got to think, that was when they would come on. I could probably watch the first 3 or 4 innings before I went to bed.
What's going on over there? Like who's the star player in that league?
I have no idea. I know that the NCAA Dinos. I think I went 11-2, betting on them. They were the number 1 team in the league, and the second sports opened back up, I stopped. Like the meme where it's Andy dropping Woody, and he's like, "I don't want to play with you anymore." That was me to the NC Dinos. When sports started back up, I just dropped them. So I don't know. I'd like to think I'd try to, but I'd always put it on right before I went to bed because I go to bed at 5-6 o'clock. So
yeah, it's pretty late for me. Like, sorry if I sound draggy. I don't know. I had some coffee like around 9 because I knew you were gonna. It's gonna be pretty late, but I'm a little tired. But
this
back
is prime time.
Wait, what?
This is prime time for me.
Oh yeah.
This is when I catch my peak.
Jeez, I don't know how you do it.
I'm just built different, man.
Built for tough. So back to the NBA. We haven't touched on. I think that is the only thing we haven't touched on. It's Toronto versus Boston. Now, this is one of the series that I think has the potential to be one of the best series in the entire playoffs. Like, I think this first game, I think Toronto's favored by 2.5. And as the game comes to closer, I think that spread or that line is going to decrease more, a little bit to even, maybe. I think it's too close to call. Like, it's just a pick 'em, basically. Siakam's playing well. Van Vliet's playing well. Ibaka's playing well. The entire Raptors team is playing well. Nick Nurse is proving why he's probably the best coach in the NBA right now. And I don't know if there's a clear debate for that, to be honest with you. The only thing now, it's a good matchup between coaches. It's a good matchup between players. You have Kemba versus Van Vliet, which is a good matchup, and I can't believe I'm saying that. 3 years ago, I would never say Van Vliet versus Kemba was a good matchup, but here we are. You have Siakam versus Tatum versus Brown. You have OG Anunoby versus Tatum versus Brown. And I don't know. This series is probably going to go 7. I'd be very surprised if it went anything but 7. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it could go 7. I think it will. I think I like the Raptors
Mm-hmm.
more. I'm also I'm not a Celtics hater, but I haven't bought into them this year, and that's coming from someone who it's weird. I think I love every single player that they have, but I feel like they're just missing something because I think Jayson Tatum is a legitimate star. I think Jaylen Brown is just an incredible athlete with super length. Kemba is Kemba, and like I feel like their coach like Brad Stevens is one of the best coaches in the NBA. Like I think this is a true like battle of the minds with Stevens and Nurse. Like they're both just such good coaches.
Quick question.
And
Quick question. Who are you taking right now, Tatum or Mitchell?
Tatum or Mitchell,
Yeah.
I think I'm taking Tatum. I like Donovan Mitchell
Oh
too. I
no.
think I'm taking Tatum. I think that position is just too important. I think I don't know. They're both really good. I guess it depends on who I can put around them.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard to say that in a vacuum because they're really good.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't know. I
obviously.
don't know. That's tough for me because that comes from me liking Duke so much background too. So I have a little bit of bias for Tatum. So
You and your blue bloods. I can't believe you like Duke.
there's a Duke flag over there somewhere. You just can't see it. It's off screen.
I don't know why I try to peek it out there to see it, but
I say you can't see it. It's good you can't. That corner. I mean, you can see all the other trash back here, but that corner is actually really bad.
yeah.
It's hiding. It's hiding Christmas decorations. Um, there's a grill over there, and a picture of baby Levi and some like old toys.
What kind of grill is it? Is it one of those oh my god, what do you call them? Those portable grills?
No, it's a
One of those
legitimate
that
grill
feature
that just
take and drop.
I hadn't even got to take it out of the box and build it yet.
Oh.
I've had it for a few months now. That's partly because of like my outside situation and finding somewhere to put it. So I don't want to set it up and then be like, oh, I need to move this somewhere else. And
Hmm.
right now it'd have to go on my front porch, which
That's not ideal.
it's unideal. I have a phobia of someone coming by in the middle of the night, or in my case, the middle of the morning and taking it.
Well, I mean, at least you'd hear them because you'd be awake.
That's what I said. Well, you would think I had someone steal a shop vac from my house on outside, and the only time they could have taken it was while I was awake. But to be fair, my room is on the complete other side of the house from where
All
it
of it
was.
is
So
weird. Like you've already gotten some of your stuff stolen out of your car.
yeah, that was awful. That was
Like
awful.
that backpack, man. That
That's what upset me.
that
Like,
made me mad. Honestly, that made
because
me upset.
it's because it was something that wasn't replaceable. Because
Yeah.
I never keep anything of value in my car, and I don't know. Like my car has a weird problem with the locks on it. Sometimes it does not want to lock. Like it's an old car. It's finicky. So sometimes I think it's locked, and it's not.
I do that all the time.
So
There were a couple of times. Oh yeah, by the way, the backpack we're talking about for people who don't know, we went to the Final Four in 2019. We got a media backpack, super cool. Anyways, shit, where was I going with that?
it was one of a kind. You had to be part of the media to get it, and that was like our first big experience because we'd covered Auburn sports a lot, and like football games, basketball games, baseball games, etc., whatever, soccer, and but that was I know that was mine and yours like first big time
That was
thing for our career. Like
that was it. That
that
was.
was like massive.
I mean, that's where we met too.
Yeah, that was where we met. Yeah,
That was. I mean, I think you were in the bar down at the bar by yourself. Then I came down because Andy and Aiden weren't 21 yet.
yeah.
So you and I were the, sort of the adults.
We're the only two that could get a drink.
Yeah, even though they're way more adult.
Yeah,
But anyways, back to Jayson Tatum. I agree with you though. He is a superstar right now. I just think Like he'll go for a 21-point game, and Celtics fan be like, "Look, he's only 22. Look what he's doing." And then Mitchell will go for 57, and it's just like birds chirping.
Yeah, like no, I'm telling you, it's because he's in Utah. Like people just don't pay attention to Utah that much.
He's literally okay. I want to say literally. He's similar to what D Wade was with the Heat in his like '06 between '06 and '09 before LeBron came there, where he was just an animal. But now you have Conley there. Utah now is slowly getting back to strength. They're slowly it's a sneaky, not a sneaky good team, but like it's people are realizing that they're there. They're just not giving them the credit that they deserve. Like, and honestly, when you think about it, the most likely matchup in the West is going to be Utah versus LA, the Clippers. And I mean, who knows? Like, Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell may prove to be a pretty good duo. Like I already thought in the regular season they're already a good duo. Mike Conley had a few games that made you think if it was worth it all trading for him. Like, was it a trade or did they pick him up in free agency?
I think they. I can't remember if they actually traded for him or he just signed free agent.
Oh, doesn't matter. They got him, and they're all the more lucky for it, all the more happy for it. Yeah, but I don't think if Utah makes it past the first round, I'll be surprised if they make it past.
They did
Even
trade
if,
him.
even if the Mavs were to somehow beat the Clippers, I would still pick the Mavs without Porzingis to beat them, just because Luke is that good.
Yeah.
But between Toronto and Boston, keep getting sidetracked. You think it's Toronto that comes out?
I think it's Toronto. I mean, and I think that championship pedigree does something for him. Like I think last year's run, I mean, that wasn't all Kawhi. I mean, having Kawhi helps, and he did a lot. But I don't know. Like I feel that was more of just like a lean, I guess, like a gut feeling type. There's nothing really to back up for me why I think the Toronto Raptors will beat the Celtics because honestly, it's one of those series that you look at it and I feel like it can just go either way.
Yeah.
And I mean, like they both have such good rosters. I mean, there's a reason they're here, and I think it's going to come down to coaching, and I think it's going to be whatever coach, like they're gonna have to make some really good like decisions and adjustments throughout the series. I think whichever coach just is going to be a coaching battle. I think that's what it's going to come down to, and that's the one I'm looking forward to watching the most, just because I think that one's going to be a very close talent. Like that one in terms of just pure basketball.
Oh,
Like
it's not gonna get any better than that.
I think that one's just so good.
Yeah.
The Heat Bucks is going to be fun just for other ways because I think you have this like the David Goliath like I don't know, like it has that kind of like the big bad Bucks and then the Heat.
Yeah.
But I think the Heat can scrap.
Yeah, like I don't even think they're David. You know, they're like
Yeah, no, not at all.
and the one series that I would love to see would be a Heat Raptors series. You know, talking about basketball at its like highest form. Like I already love Eric Spoelstra and the whole Miami from top to bottom, from Pat Riley all the way down to their janitors. Like I love everything about them. And with the way they're playing basketball, like Duncan Robinson is all of a sudden a Klay Thompson out
Yeah,
of Division III, then the Michigan, then he was in the G League, I think. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he came. I'm like 99% sure that Duncan Robinson was a G leaguer at one point.
I hope he was. The East is kind of more interesting to watch than what's going on in the West right now. Like the West just seems so jumbled up. Not jumbled up. It just seems like you know who's gonna be there at the end. The East, I have no idea. Like you thought it would have been Milwaukee, but the way they've been playing, I mean, I don't
Yeah,
see that happening at all.
I think any of those top four teams out of the East have a legitimate chance.
Yeah.
Which is so much better than the East past. Like the East conference in the past, like and LeBron had a little bit to do with that. But
He had a lock on the East.
even a lot of those teams he was playing, like they weren't great at times, and but now it just feels wide open. With with these four teams, and I don't know. I think I think we're seeing Toronto. I think it's going to end up being chalk. I think it's going to end up being Milwaukee, Toronto. But I would not be surprised. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it was the other way. I wouldn't be like if you look at those four teams. Like I would not be surprised if any combination or permutation of those two teams make it. Like I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, Miami Boston would be pretty weird for me. That's something that would be like the least favorite series, to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to watch that one. I want to see Heat Raptors or Bucks Raptors. I don't like on the East side. Like they like all those matchups look good, and in terms of like that West side, I mean, Lakers are gonna win it all. Yeah, easy. Like guaranteed. LeBron's best player ever to walk the earth. MJ couldn't even hold LeBron's jockstrap. Like,
This
let's be
is
honest.
sarcasm, people. If you can't understand that, uh,
I'm serious. I'm dead serious. LeBron is the best player. But
okay.
it was sarcasm the way I said it. Like, I definitely think the Lakers are going to come out, but I don't think it's a given with the teams in there. LeBron is definitely best player of all time. I mean, that's obvious too. But yeah, no.
I don't know whether to pull a Skip Bayless right now or just like continue the conversation and just pretend that you never said that.
Yep.
But
yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited about that Raptors Boston series. I'm ready just to see how that pans out.
I'm just ready for Toronto, man. I'm so in love with what Toronto has done without Kawhi. Like that's when you know you have an organization. Like they can be, if they keep all their players, they could be the Spurs with what Greg Popovich was building in the early years when they had Duncan Robinson. Yeah, right? Was it Duncan Robinson, the Admiral? Was that his name?
David Robinson.
David Robinson. Wow.
Duncan Robinson.
Yeah. David Robinson. And then you had Tim
Admiral.
Duncan. Yeah. The Admiral. He went for 71 one game, I think. That dude was crazy. But when he had him, Tim Duncan, and he had Manu and Tony Parker, I think you could see that core with if you keep Siakam, if you keep Van Vliet. Like I'm not comparing Van Vliet to Tony Parker, and I'm not comparing Siakam to Tim Duncan or a David Robinson, but I'm saying
it's a good core.
It's a good core, and who knows? Maybe. And with speaking about the Spurs, Greg Popovich, I don't think he's gonna finish his career in San Antonio. I really do think after this year, he's probably going to either Philly. He's going to either Philly, Brooklyn, or New Orleans to maybe raise baby Zion.
I want to see him in New Orleans. I think New Orleans would be fun. Yeah, like I don't know. I'm with you on that. Like I think he's either going somewhere else or he's going to not coach.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he's going to be in San Antonio for much longer. But man, I would love to see New Orleans. I think that would be really cool. Let Popovich kind of groom Zion. I mean, he has a track record with dominant power forwards, so that would be really cool. He could really give Zion some of the more fundamental aspects of the game and bring along like that Tim Duncan influence.
Yeah, and also like I don't really know what Greg Popovich is thinking right now. Like his career is pretty set in stone, but he probably wants to win a couple more championships. If he wants to do that, like yeah, New Orleans would be fun, but if he could somehow, or if he would just go to Brooklyn and then KD and Kyrie need someone to just say, look, you're being a bitch, you need to calm down. And I think Greg Popovich would be the perfect coach for that. him or Ty Lue, but I just want him. I really want to see him in a championship contender because Greg Popovich. I think I never, I was too young for Phil Jackson, so Greg Popovich for me is the GOAT for coaches, and I just want to see him keep winning for real.
I mean, he could help KD get his first ring.
Mm, Oh, we're going there. Is it in your personal record book?
No, it's in Stugatz's personal record book, but I agree. I fall in line with that. KD, no rings.
KD, no rings. LeBron with 3.5 rings, personal record book.
I mean, LeBron should have how many years been in the league? 17. Yeah, he should have 17 MVPs. Not that much. Maybe not 17. Like through the later half of his career, he got robbed from a lot of MVPs. That's a whole different story.
Yeah, I mean the Derrick Rose one was pretty outrageous, and the fact that he wasn't voted the unanimous MVP, where that guy, that reporter voted Carmelo, and Carmelo ended up like fourth, I think, in the MVP voting that same year. So he wasn't the unanimous MVP. Then Steph became the unanimous MVP.
Yeah,
the first one ever. Really pissed me off, but shit, how long have we been going for?
that's
about an hour.
That's how it goes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what years he should have won that he didn't, but I know every year he's the best player, so he should win it every year that he participates.
I think. No, never mind. I'm not gonna say that. I was about to say he probably should have won this year, but then Giannis just had like the best year ever, almost like a point guard Shaq numbers kind of thing.
I was surprised that Giannis got the depoy this year.
I
I
don't
was
understand why
really
everyone
surprised.
was surprised. Like everyone thought AD got robbed, but it's like he didn't get robbed. Like
I don't
Giannis
think he
was,
I don't think he got robbed, but like I thought that AD was going to win it.
yeah,
Like so like that when I say like I was surprised, I mean like I legit thought they were going to give it AD. So I mean if they gave it to anybody else other than Anthony Davis for this year, I think Giannis was the guy. So like I don't know. I was shocked just in terms of I thought that AD had this one.
yeah. And I mean, I saw all the keyboard warriors at it again, at war with each other. Like AD got robbed this, AD got robbed that. Look, Giannis was the best defensive player on the best defensive team, and I mean, it's not like it was splitting hairs. You know what I mean? It's not like there was a huge gap between 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean you've seen the memes that Rudy Gobert should have won it because he shut the entire league down.
Boom, boom. Rudy Gobert, man, that guy. I feel sorry for him. Like even his teammates still hate him. Donovan's never gonna forgive him for that.
No, no. I mean that. I just remember. I remember all that happening. I was coming home from Las Vegas, and that just was like I was in the airport when they started shutting everything down. Like I was waiting on my flight back home, and NBA was canceling games. They started canceling SEC conference tournaments, not SEC conference basketball tournaments.
Yeah.
And I wake up the next day, and the the NCAA tournament's canceled, and I was like, I
That's like
left.
canceling Christmas.
I left. I left Auburn on spring break, went to Las Vegas, and I went on permanent spring break. It's like when I came back, it's like I left and flew into like a portal and came back into just this world that was completely unfamiliar
Yeah.
that we live in now.
Well, hey man, join the boat, join the crew,
Oh yeah.
up on the boat. What I meant to say, like,
I'm hoping it we can figure everything out and get it together, at least within the next year.
fingers crossed for that. I don't, fingers crossed for that. I mean, it's going through. We're going through some tough times right now, but I'm gonna go with some rapid fire questions, and then we're gonna wrap this up because I'm tired as hell, and I need to, I need to get this out for tomorrow. All right, Bucks versus Heat. What are you going with?
Going Bucks.
And how many games?
Bucks in let's say 6. Bucks in 6.
Boston, Toronto.
Toronto.
How many?
Seven. I'm thinking
Toronto,
seven.
7. All right. Or we're going to assume that Houston's going to win versus OKC. So we got LA versus Houston.
LA. I'll say 5.
Oh, okay.
I think they might get 1.
Okay. And then
I could be wrong on that one, but I'm kind of.
yeah, well, a lot of room for error right there. We'll go with Clippers and Utah.
Utah in 4.
All right. Thank you, Levi. It was fun, man.
Oh, I had a blast. That was great.
All right, man. Take it
I'll
easy.
do it again sometime.
Yes, sir. We will.